Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video called Poland Explained. So I'm excited to have this country explained to me because I do not know much about Poland, so this is going to be very interesting. Let's check it out and comment, like and subscribe.
Recently, it feels like everyone is talking about Poland.
Poland.
Oh,
Poland was Poland.
It's safe to say that Poland is making some serious moves in the world. With a stable, diverse economy, a new interesting aim and technology, and a serious investment in military power.
Oh, that's a lot.
Poland has gone from being a grey and poor place filled with war and invasion and being pretty much erased from maps to a nation that not only survived but thrived into a country others now look at with envy.
Yeah, but they disappeared?
But how did this happen? And most importantly, what do you even know about Poland? The time has come to explore the ins and outs of this nation. So this is Poland Explained. Poland is located in the heart of Europe, neighboring 7 countries. Going clockwise from the northeast, there's the Russian exclave of Kaliningrad, then Lithuania, Belarus, Ukraine, Slovakia, Czech Republic and Germany. With these countries, they share a total land border of 2,865 kilometers, the longest of which is with Czechia at 699 kilometers. Poland covers a total area of roughly 312 square kilometers, where about 8,000 of those are water areas with a total coastline of 440 kilometers. This put the country in the 71st spot in the world when looking at the country area. And to put that size in perspective, it's about twice the size of the US state of Georgia and slightly smaller than New Mexico. The terrain is mostly flat, with some mountains along the southern border against Slovakia. And this is also where we find the highest point of the nation, Ruzy, which stands at 2,499 meters.
It's so
beautiful. The lowest point is on the complete opposite side, near Razgi El Blaski, and is actually at a negative 2 meters. The largest lake is Lake Snidarvi, while the largest body of water, when looking at the full size, is the lagoon that is shared with Germany.
A lagoon?
On the Polish side, it's called Zalew Przeworski, while it's called Stettiner Haff on the German side. The longest river is Wisla with 1,213 kilometers.
I'm wondering if they have a border near the lagoon. What's the difference between a lake and lagoon? But whatever. I'm wondering if they have a sort of a border and a limit. It would be fun to sort of swim or just go on a boat and pass the limits between Germany and Poland.
And is shared with both Belarus and Ukraine. About 30% of the country is covered in forests and 48% of agricultural lands.
What on earth is
Some of the natural resources of Poland being just arable lands and also coal, sulfur, natural gas, copper and silver.
They have a lot of things.
The climate of the nation is temperate with cold, moderately severe winters and mild summers. Whereas in most places, the weather can occasionally reach high temperatures in the summer and low ones in the winter. But when looking at the average temperatures, it's still considering mild and moderate.
So
the population is roughly 38 million people, which puts them at the 39th spot in the world, just below Canada. And most of these people live in either the northern coastal area in the city of Gdansk, the southern part and the city of Krakow, or in the cities in the central area such as Lodz and Warsaw.
Yeah, Warsaw.
The last mentioned city is also the capital of the country and holds about 1.8 million people of the total population.
Oh, not as many as I was
expecting. The median age of this population is, like most European countries, kind of high, 41.9 years to be exact. And with that, they ranked at the 39th spot in the world. So clearly, the majority of the population is in the age span between 15 and 64 years old. 14.53% is 14 or younger, while 20.6% is 65 years or older.
That's normal,
now,
right?
The population growth rate isn't something Poland does very well, as they have one of the lowest growth rates in the entire world.
That's, I think, a common in Europe overall.
2023, this number is estimated to be a negative 0.28%, meaning the population actually shrinks instead of grows.
Yeah.
One reason for this might be the low birth rate of the country, which is just 8.31 births for every 1,000 population, or to simplify even further, 1.41 children born for every woman in the country.
No one's having kids.
Another reason might be the high death rate of the country, which is 10.75 deaths per 1,000 population.
Is that normal?
The 27th highest in the world. Why that is, it's hard to say. Perhaps it's because the government focuses on other areas than health, as they spend roughly 6.5% of the country's GDP on health-related matters. Or perhaps it has something to do with the country's love for alcohol.
Oh,
A study from the World Health Organization
Okay.
found that the Polish people, on average, consume around 11 liters of pure alcohol per year,
and that's
which roughly
normal.
translates to 120 bottles of wine.
Oh my God!
Maybe it's
Year
because
per
of their
year?
tobacco usage. Even though they're not by any means the worst when it comes to this, 24% of the population still uses tobacco in some form. But it's most likely not an overweight issue, as this isn't a major concern in the nation, although it's also growing, as it does in
They're
many
active.
parts of the world.
Yeah, they're active.
And considering
people.
all this, the Polish people still have a fairly decent life expectancy at 79 years, an age
That's a
that puts
lot.
them at the 67th spot in the world. When it comes to educating its population, Poland usually spends around 5% of its GDP on this matter. And since 2019, they've been closing in on this 5% again after a couple of years of spending closer to 4%.
Oh,
And
so
the
it's
literacy
growing.
rate is very high in the country, with 99.8% of the population being
Incredible.
able to read and write.
Great.
The Republic of Poland is divided into 16 provinces. It sits in the UTC +1 time zone, the official language is Polish, and the national
What is it?
anthem is called Mazurek Dąbrowskiego. The
Wondering what
chief
that
of state
means.
is President Andrzej Duda, and he has been in that position since August 6, 2015, when he received 51.5% of the votes. He then got
wow.
re-elected in 2020 with 51% of the votes. And the head
many
of
years does
government
he
is
have?
Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki. The flag of Poland consists of 2 stripes of red and white, and
Love
their
it.
national symbol is a white-crowned eagle.
Oh, it's an
The
eagle,
white of their
yeah.
flag is said to represent this eagle, while the red at the bottom is the field of the coat of arms.
Are eagles white?
As mentioned at the start, Poland has a
No idea.
well-diversified economy that has proven to be a good concept for high growth, as it has been one of the most resilient economies in the European Union, even during tough times.
Oh my God, that's
And one of
incredible.
the key reasons to this almost constant growth is Poland's ability to figure out how to grow in various stages of their history.
Love
First of
that.
all, they managed to capitalize on the old communist legacy of industry, which they then used to attract investments from the West that helped them scale up and increase the production of goods within the country borders.
They were smart.
This later made it possible to join the global economy of imports and exports by sending that goods to other nations and taking a profit in return. And now, most recently, they have shifted focus again into becoming a major player in the tech scene, something big tech is starting to notice.
Oh, wow.
And as of 2022, companies like Google, Samsung, Facebook, and Amazon all have established bases in Poland.
Really? Even
When
Amazon?
looking closer at actual numbers, and more specifically their purchasing power, Poland is ranked 19th in the world with roughly 1.6 trillion US dollars. And in
a lot.
GDP growth rate and GDP per capita, they sit around the 60th place in the world.
That's
And
a
we're
lot.
looking at how much reserves of foreign exchange and gold Poland sits on. They're at the 21st spot in the world with a value of 166 billion
Yeah, I think
US
that's good. That's
dollars.
really good.
They have a labor force of about 18 million people, and yet one of the lowest unemployment rates in the world at just 2.6%. And the country has come a long
So if you want to work, go to Poland.
way in the transition from the former Soviet era of industry work into a more service-based economy. And now,
Yeah, things
about
change.
58% of the people work in the service industry. They export roughly 411 billion US dollars worth of goods each year and import goods worth 380 billion, being
wonder
the
why
20th
that's-
strongest
wow.
country in both exports and imports in the world.
What are they famous for?
Their biggest partner in both imports and exports is Germany, which stands for about the fourth in both
well, yeah,
segments.
it makes sense. They're right next door.
So they're a strong economy and they continue to grow. But this hasn't always been the case, as Poland has been under heavy pressure throughout history and even got erased from the map for over 100 years.
What do you mean they got
The
erased?
terms Poland and Poles first appear in the late 10th century. Mieszko I is considered the first ruler of Poland, and he adopted Catholic Christianity as the state religion. In 1226, the Teutonic Knights were invited to help convert the pagan Prussians, but instead they established their own state in northern Poland.
Is that what the word
An
German?
alliance formed between the Polish and the Lithuanians, and in the end, they defeated
other
the
side.
Teutonic Knights. In 1569, Poland signed the Union of Lubin,
Oh my
together
God.
with the Grand Duchy of Lithuania,
Are those words?
establishing the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, a major power in Europe.
Wow.
The Commonwealth had some internal problems, something that bordering countries took advantage of.
As
And in
usually they do.
1772, the first of 3 partitions happened to the Commonwealth. The second happened in 1793 and the final in 1795. The lands and people that were once part of the Commonwealth were now ruled by Prussia, Russia, and Austria.
Oh my god,
And Poland
okay.
as a country disappeared completely from the map.
Okay, I get it
and
now.
didn't come back until after the First World War.
That's insane to me.
In 1918, November 11th, after more than a century of foreign rule, an independent Polish state was finally restored, and Józef Pilsudski is named the chief of state. In 1939, World War II began with Germany's invasion of Poland on September 1st.
Yeah,
And the
awful.
entire world knows what horrible things happened here.
Correct. We can skip
In
that.
1945, the Second World War ended, and after being betrayed by their allies in the Jalta Conference, where the US and UK decided to split up Europe and leave Poland on the wrong side, Poland's borders shifted westwards and the country became a communist state under Soviet influence. In 1980, Gdansk shipyard strikes led to the formation of the Solidarity Labor Movement. In 1989, the signing of the Round Table Agreement resulted in the first free election in Poland since 1928.
That's crazy.
Communism began to collapse in Poland.
It's insane. It took them so long.
In
Well,
1999,
not really, but
Poland joined NATO, and in 2004, Poland joined the European Union.
accelerated
Now,
growth.
Poland is an important member of both these organizations, much thanks to their geographic location on the edge of NATO's eastern flank. And the history
yeah,
of
true.
invasions of the country has clearly made the Polish heavily invested into securing its borders.
Yeah.
And in the last couple of years, Poland has really started investing into its
Yeah,
defense.
you have a lot of countries
with
to defend
estimated
yourself.
numbers coming from NATO, showing Poland spending the most defense expenditures out of all NATO members.
But I get it.
And Poland even
Absolutely
said
get
that
it.
they're going to increase this number even further,
Oh,
spending
more?
upward of 5% of its total GDP on defense.
That's a lot.
Something tells
That's a
me
lot of
that
money.
Poland just does everything to be ready for anything,
Yeah.
and to be able to hold their own ground no matter what the future looks like. With its
That's
history
good.
of invasion, oppression, and a whole lot of awful things, Poland prepares for the worst.
Yeah.
Other countries that join NATO and the European Union, for example, I kind of get the feeling they probably think that the alliances will help them in a crisis, while Poland has a history of being let down by their allies when they needed them the most.
So, yeah,
they're
they prepare for
preparing
the
to be
worst.
alone again. All this history has really turned Poland and its people into true warriors, and that mindset in turn has led to a country that is booming even in hard times.
It's
It will
great.
be very interesting to follow this country in the future, and I will not be surprised if this will be one of, if not the strongest force in Europe in the future.
Wow, really?
Now, let's go and learn about a new country in the world by clicking one of the videos on your screen right now.
I think, seeing it like this is really, it's something very interesting. It's the whole, they've gone through so many hardships, which I guess, not all countries are created equal. And I think up to a certain point, I think every country can say, oh, we hadn't had it easy and there's a lot of things that we had to overcome. But in this particular case, in Poland specifically, I think it's also because they've been through so many hard things. And I think in recent time periods or relatively recent sort of time periods and eras, so it's kind of crazy that they managed to grow. I don't know, they grew a lot, I think, specifically if you notice how apparently, because even up to, let's say, the 1980s, late 1980s, still things were a little bit tumultuous and they were a little bit, again, going through hard times. But then they managed to sort of recover the whole thing in 30 years? Yeah, let's say around 30 years, which I think it's an insane amount of time to recover a country. That's just crazy. I think it speaks a lot about the resilience of the people and how I think the mindset itself, I think of Poles, I think it's really something to you take your hat off because it's incredible. I think one of the things, obviously, it's a lot of things that manage. It's a lot of factors, I think, go into this. It wasn't just one particular factor that made it so that they were able to recover, I think, so quickly. But still, I think, obviously, the people, I think it's a really good... I know if you don't have the will, that's what I mean with, Poles in general, if there isn't a will, there won't be a way. So even though maybe you have, chances are in your favor, or there's people helping you, maybe, again, if Poles hadn't been, so they didn't have that mentality of, we're going to recover, we're going to grow, we're going to be one of the most powerful countries in the world, well, that wouldn't have happened. So I think it's something, again, you have to look for Poles. I think it's really, again, about resilience. It's like, and again, their history really does say that. It's a country that does not give up. Maybe not a country, because that's the whole thing. apparently up to, well, I get the whole, it didn't say, it was erased from the map. I think it's just insane to me, the concept of Poland, because I think maybe in recent years, and I meant recent years, as in probably after the 1940s, which we know what happened. And obviously, again, probably, young, so anyone younger than the 1940s is probably going to think like this. It's insane to think of a world without Poland, because again, they're so important, I think, throughout worldwide history, that it's kind of insane to think, oh, but they didn't really existed before that. And, they existed in a way of, the territory and Poles themselves, I think they existed, but they were sort of split up. And again, I think that's where that's a crazy thing to me as well. I don't know if it's a modern perspective or is that just me, but every time that I look at things like this, you look at old maps and there's just so many nations that just didn't exist, or they were split up, or, this country was, it actually, with the country that you think of right now, or I know you think, there's 4 countries that are close to each other. No, that used to be one huge country, one huge territory. I think it's just crazy how maps and territories and borders change, because you haven't, I don't know, it's kind of insane to me. And I don't really know how people have managed to, I don't know, how you maintain an identity after, after being, you're this and then you're that, and then in 20 years, who knows what you will be. I think it's kind of crazy. And the fact that they do have a Polish identity and they have managed to, to have it and to conserve and preserve that to how many years? 1,000 years? I know how old it was. It was what, the year 1900? I think it's just insane. And again, I think it's bad in a way if you think about it. The negative things that have happened throughout the history of Poland, as in whatever name you want to call it. I think that the important part of this is that even though they weren't always called Poland, in one part of during one part of the history, yes, it was Poland, then it wasn't. They did a Commonwealth, and then they got split up again and whatever. But the point is that Poles, as in the people that live there, are still there. And I think maybe the name changed, but the people themselves and the whole sort of identity is still remained, which I think is probably the most important part, because you don't care, or it doesn't matter how you call them. I think the most important part is that the culture remains, because ultimately that's what you're going to pass on to your kids, and that's what you're going to pass on to your descendants. And that's if you see it like not right now, all these Poles are going to be thinking, then my ancestors just thought of this, or they believed in this and whatever. So I really do think that's important. And the fact that they have managed to preserve that throughout those whole sort of hardships and a long periods of hardships, that's just insane to me. And it's a thing about, wow, it's incredible, kudos to them. But also, I think, again, the fact that they managed to recover so quickly, it's also pretty crazy. But I think the whole thing, if you take into account everything and all of the things that I just said, I think you made it's kind of weird, because on one hand, it's sort of, you're making, you're constantly here, or you're making, if life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And it can be seen as this, you tend to use it as, when, life gives you lemons, as in something good happens to you, or, you see a blessing, and then, maybe I can sort of spread this on, or I can do something with this. And you don't tend to think about that particular sort of metaphor or saying when it comes to sort of bad things or a little bit more negative things. But I think in Poland's case, I think really, again, this I think could be applied, even though the lemons weren't they weren't right for making lemonade. But ultimately they managed to, we're going to do something with those lemons. And I think it's something that we can all sort of learn from this, is sort of, even though it may not seem something good, who knows? Maybe we can really do something with this, even though maybe at first glance you're thinking, maybe this is not as good. No, maybe it's gonna be good for us, and we really do have to think about a way to make this work for us, even though probably a lot of people would just give up, or would go, no, gonna throw these lemons. Do not throw them out. We're gonna do something with this. So I really do think it's great, and it's amazing, all of them. And one of the things that actually was, I don't know, it's kind of crazy to me and really funny, because I hadn't thought of this. It's, the whole sort of European thing. I know that it's, lower birth rates. That's a problem, not in Poland, and I think all throughout Europe is a problem. But it's funny that they were thinking about life expectancy, and they were talking about, it's still sort of decent in a way. Apparently, it's still sort of on the lower end, maybe. Again, it could be better, but, there's always room for improvement, which is great, and probably they're working on this. But it's because apparently people think maybe it's because they drink a lot, they smoke a lot. I think they're very active, health wise. So obesity is not a problem. But as for the drinking and the smoking, it's okay. How many people are smoking and how many alcohol liters of alcohol they're drinking every? Again, the average Polish person is drinking and smoking every single day of their lives. Apparently that's a concern. Apparently they don't really invest in health, but who cares? If you're here for a good time, not for a long time, maybe that's really the mindset, and who can blame them? Yeah, sure, go ahead. Again, if you're thinking, that's your mindset, I'm here for a good time, not for a long time, then incredible, great, good for you. I love that. But I don't know, I want to know how much does the average Pole drink? Do they really drink a lot? I don't know, would love to know. But ultimately, I think it's kind of a little bit sad situation, the whole sort of, they're thinking about, because they've been sort of betrayed by so many other factors. I think, well, I'm going to say territories or countries, but again, they've been sort of betrayed a lot of times in their history. So they just got used to, counting and relying only on themselves, which always is a little bit sad. But if you really do think about this, it's not really that bad. Because ultimately, that's sort of the point. I think, again, it's a sense of community, and, it's great, of course. But I think ultimately, you're on your own. I think people try to do, even though they try to help you and they can help you, you can't always rely on other people. You kind of have to rely on yourself ultimately, because you don't know if someone's going to be able to come to your rescue, because sometimes you really do have to, get out of your grave on your own. So I think that mindset, even though it looks kind of depressing, ultimately I think it's a good thing as well, because they're so prepared for, again, if you come to help us, great, thank you very much. But if you don't come to our aid, it's okay, we're fine, we can handle it, which I think it's the best case scenario. It's always about, preparing. How does it go? You expect the best, but you prepare for the worst, which I think, again, great case scenario, because you're thinking, well, if somebody comes and helps me, well, great, that, I'm going to have a plan B just in case, because if no one comes, then, I'm going to drown. No, I need, I'm going to be able to sort of swim out of this right now. So yeah, I like that. So even though it might sound a little depressing and sad, it's not a bad mindset to have at all. I think both for countries and for people in general. So I think it's really good. And it's funny as well that they're relying, and they apparently spend a lot of money into defending, in defense as well, military defense. And it's kind of funny if you think about this like that, but no, consider the history. It's never bad to be prepared. I think, again, a prepared person is gonna be better prepared. Better prepared, I think, to handle anything, because again, maybe you don't use it, but you're prepared. So you have a peace of mind, you're at ease, and it's obviously, and it's probably better. But it's funny because I was thinking about this. I understand they spend that much in defense because, obviously you're not preparing for war or conflict. Of course, it's not something that you're actively looking for, but it's nice to be prepared. But because I'm thinking about this, and I was thinking how crazy it must be. They share a border with like 7 countries. So it's, again, if you're in that position, probably you're thinking, you know what? Of course, they're my friends, they're my neighbors, but also never too bad to be prepared. So I like that. It's apparently, if you were Poland and you also share a border with so many other countries, you're probably thinking, again, and considering our history, it's never too bad to be prepared. I think it's good. If we don't have to use it, great. But just in case the worst case scenario happens, God forbid, we still have to rely on something. So of course we have a lot of borders with a lot of nations, so it's good that we spend a lot of money on defense, which is great. And also I think, again, it's wild to me, the concept of you sharing a border with how many other countries. That's just crazy to me. That's a crazy concept. And you also have an ocean, which I think it's okay. You also have a coastline. So incredibly lucky on all ends. But that was it for today, and I'll see you soon. Bye.